person. He really truly cared about people. From the minute he started working for me, he would go to a customer, turn up late, of course, in his Converses sometimes because he'd have forgotten his shoes. And it was okay because he'd bring a packet of biscuits or a cake and he'd lay it on the table. And I always used to get so surprised because, I'm maybe a little bit more conservative, and I'd walk into a customer with Chris and I'd extend my hand to give a handshake, and there's Chris having a deep cuddle and hug. I'm thinking, okay, what am I doing wrong here? I don't seem to be able to build these kinds of relationships, and that's what Chris did. He built the most incredible relationships. But when we think of Chris, when I think of Chris, I always think what a wonderful man he was, and he obviously was a wonderful man. But it's easy to forget how smart Chris is. It's easy to forget how intelligent Chris is, and to be a really, really good salesperson, you've got to have really good emotional intelligence. And Chris could walk into a room and get a feeling of it, and work out who needed an arm around the shoulder and who needed a kick up the arse. And he wasn't afraid to do that, by the way. If he needed to say something that maybe wasn't the most popular thing to say, he would say it. But the funny thing about Chris is you never ever felt insulted. You never ever felt bad about anything that he would say that maybe needed to be said. And it wasn't just customers that Chris was like this for. It was the people that he worked with. And I know that the guys from MRI would support me, the company that Chris has been working for, and all the guys at Arian. There probably isn't a person that Chris works with who he hasn't helped. So whenever there are difficulties for anybody in the organisation, Chris will always be the first person, the one at the front, either helping that person or fighting for them. And this was the measure of the man. I just wanted to give you a sense of things, if I can find it on my phone. I posted something on LinkedIn, and I mean, Chris obviously hugely popular. I didn't realise that over 4,000 people would come and take a look at the message about Chris. But there were so many people that he touched, so many people that he influenced. And I just wanted to read a couple of the things that people said. And there's so many things that customers, suppliers, partners have said. I think one person really put it very well when she said, such was his character that the ripples of this tragedy are felt far and wide across many hundreds of clients, partners, IT suppliers, many of whom became good friends. I have one or two friends that are very close, not many. Chris has many friends. And every single person I ever come across that talks about Chris, they always say the same thing that I say. So it's incredible that one person could have such an impact on so many people's lives, and to do that professionally as well as personally. And just one other thing that I wanted to say here was because I think it really gets across how much Chris cared. And this is another customer, and he said, I hugely liked Chris and appreciated his help and advice over the years. His presence and personality turned bad days I was experiencing into good. I loved the way he remembered things about my family and life away from work whilst sharing stories about his. Though I have not met them, Chris regularly talked with pride, humour, joy and love about Fee and Sam. And I really feel that resonates a lot with me, and I'm sure it must do with you. And just about that, I just wanted to say that when I first got to know Chris, I did feel like I got to know Fee and Sam, and it was a few years before I met them, but I really did feel like that I got some understanding of them, and all of the laughter, the joy, the humour, the comedy, the love that Chris gave at work, it was so obvious from the way he spoke that all of this love, joy and fun and comedy came from home. That's where he got it from. And he's my dear friend, he's your dear friend, he's your dear husband, your dear father, and I think for me and everybody else, The one thing that I would just like to finish off by saying was that for me, Chris always left the room brighter than he found it.